Okay, it's a beautiful February day. Actually, not so beautiful. We have some overcast, which is great because the light that comes in is not so bright, which sometimes with the camera it throws everything off. But so today what I need to do is follow up on the work on this wall behind me. A lot of the pointing has already been done. There's some little areas that need to be kind of filled in, so I'm going to work on that now. And then hopefully move into the next room and start preparing the pointing, cleaning out the mortar and the old mortar and preparing for the pointing in the next room. So stay with me and I'll get started. I'll be using this mortar pointing gun. I found this on Amazon for less than 50 euros. You can find others out there that cost 6 times as much, but this works really well. I'm not going to leave a lot of mortar for the repair. I'll mix up a single bucket, and this is what I'll load into the pointing gun. Before I begin with the touch-ups, I have to moisten the wall with water. This is a necessary step and is needed for the mortar to stick to the wall. With the wall moistened and the pointing gun loaded up with mortar, I can go ahead and start looking for those points that need to be filled. As I'm doing this, I have to occasionally step back so I get a better view of the wall and try to find these little points that need to be filled. It's actually not easy after the wall's been pointed because these little imperfections are not obvious. I could probably get away without doing this, but in my mind, I know they're there and this is always going to be a problem for me. After I finish injecting the mortar, the next step is to take a trowel and flatten out those areas where I injected the mortar. Then I'll let that sit and dry for about 2 hours and then follow up with a wire brush to remove excess mortar and to add a bit of texture. Unfortunately, when I started the last part of the process, my camera died, so I don't have a shot of that. But when we start in the next room, you'll be able to see the entire process. Okay, so now that the other room is complete, we can move in here and start working on this wall. What we need to do is, actually what I need to do is prep it for pointing, which means I have to remove the old mortar that's sitting in between these stones. I like to go down about 2 centimeters, enough to, well actually I say 2 centimeters, but it really depends on the shape of the rock. Sometimes I have to go deeper, sometimes I can't go deeper because the stones are too tight together. But in general, what I'm trying to do is just create a sort of step to where when I inject the new mortar, it'll stay in place and not drop down to the ground. So what that requires doing is taking I actually don't even know what this is called, but taking this tool and just kind of scratching out the old mortar that's in here. So the mortar that sits in between these stones is more like a mix of dirt and rock. It comes out very easily. Perhaps when it was first put together, it didn't, but the way it is now, I can literally just scratch and easily remove the mortar. Now, in some places over history where someone used cement to make repairs, those areas are more difficult, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to get this out. It's a little time consuming though, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when I'm doing this work. I go through very slow and I want to make sure that it's not just that the mortar is been removed, but also the excess dust. So after I remove the mortar, I usually go through with this little brush and remove some of the excess dust, because I've seen in the past where when I inject the mortar, if first you have to wet the wall, but sometimes where there's excess dust, the mortar won't grab and kind of becomes loose, and then I have to go back later, as I did in that room over there, and kind of fill in those gaps. So just to give you a closer look at what this original mortar looks like, I'll zoom in here. Let's give it a try here. Okay, now that I have the camera zoomed in, I can show you more easily how easy it is to take out the old mortar that sits here between these stones. You see here, I just want to create a little sort of ledge or step so that when I put the new mortar, it has a place to sit. And as I said, some areas are very tight. Like you can see, this area is tighter, so I will use the other side of the tool just to kind of create a little space there. And then, as I said, usually what I do afterwards, I go through as I remove the excess dust, like so, and that's ready to go for pointing. And with that, it's back to work. If you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next video where we're going to do part 2. We expect to finish removing the mortar and hopefully start pointing. Thanks for watching.